The sky was growing dark, and a light drizzle covered the small street where Alex lived. He was a 25-year-old mechanic who had lost his mother at a young age and lived with his frail father. Alex's life was never easy, as he had to shoulder the huge debt his father left behind after several failed businesses. The small auto repair shop he opened was only enough to help the father and son survive, but it could not pay off the enormous debt. There was a time when Alex wanted to leave his hometown to go to the city to make a living, but he could not bear to leave his sick father. In his heart, there was only one wish: to pay off all the debt and give his father a comfortable life. One rainy day, while Alex was busy repairing an old car, he received a call from an unknown number. On the other end of the line was the voice of an elderly but strong woman. "Alex, I am Mrs. Harrison. I have something important to discuss with you. Meet me at Riverdale Coffee Shop at 7 p.m. tonight." Alex was stunned. He had never heard this name before. How did she know him? And more importantly, why did she want to meet him? Although he was hesitant, curiosity made Alex decide to go to the coffee shop. When he arrived, he couldn't help but be surprised. In front of him was a 74-year-old woman, her hair neatly tied up, her face full of the rough features of someone who had worked in the business world. She wore an elegant dress, simple but luxurious jewelry. Mrs. Harrison looked at Alex, gave a slight smile, and got straight to the point. "Do you want to pay off your father's debt? Do you want to change your life?" Alex frowned, doubt rising in his heart. How did she know about his situation, and why did she care? "Who are you? How did you know me?" Alex spoke slowly but clearly wary. Mrs. Harrison gently sipped her tea, her eyes flashing with mystery. "I have my ways. The important thing is that I can help you get out of debt, but you have to accept one condition." Alex clenched his fist, his intuition telling him that something was not right. "What condition?" he asked, his voice full of caution. Mrs. Harrison looked straight into Alex's eyes, slowly speaking each word. "I want you to marry me. Just on paper. I need a legal husband." Alex was so surprised that he almost dropped his coffee cup. "Are you kidding? I'm only old enough to be your grandchild." But Mrs. Harrison remained calm. "I'm not kidding. I need a young, unattached husband, and you are the best choice. I don't need love or care. I just need a legal marriage to achieve a personal goal. You just need to be my husband in name only. Live with me until I die. In return, I will pay off your father's debt, take care of your future, and when I die, my property will belong to you." The offer was too strange. Alex was not a greedy man, but he knew that this was the only chance to free his father from debt. But at the same time, there was something in Mrs. Harrison's words that he could not completely trust. Is this just a legal marriage, or is there some secret behind it? After a night of thinking, Alex still couldn't make a decision. In his mind, the questions kept repeating. Why did Mrs. Harrison choose him? Did she really just want a legal marriage, or was there something else? But thinking about his father who was living in misery due to debt, Alex had no other choice. The next morning, he picked up the phone and called Mrs. Harrison. "Are you sure you will pay off all the debt for me and my father?" On the other end of the line, Mrs. Harrison kept her voice calm, without any wavering. "I never break a promise. As soon as we sign the marriage certificate, all your debts will disappear. And not only that, I also worry about your future." Those words were like a double-edged sword, both attractive and scary. Finally, Alex gritted his teeth and tried to ignore the doubts in his heart. "Okay, I agree." A few days later, the strangest wedding in the area took place. There was no grand party, no large gathering of relatives, just a simple ceremony at Mrs. Harrison's villa. The attendees were only a few of her confidants, a few of her military friends, and some of the housekeepers. As soon as the news of this marriage spread, the village began to gossip. "The guy who married Mrs. Harrison is so rich. It must be because of money. She is over 70 years old, and he is only 25. This is strange. He must have agreed to marry to pay off his father's debt." Rumors and gossip seemed to be everywhere. Some laughed, some pitied, but Alex ignored them all. For him, this wedding was not about love, but simply an exchange. He exchanged his freedom to save his father. After the ceremony, When everyone gradually left, Mrs. Harrison turned to Alex, giving him a meaningful smile. "You don't need to show your displeasure. Just live here, and you will understand my true purpose." The sentence made Alex feel uneasy. Even though he had accepted this marriage, he still could not dispel the feeling of insecurity that was growing in his heart. The very next morning, Alex officially moved into Mrs. Harrison's villa. From a small, shabby house in a poor neighborhood, he now entered a large, fully furnished, splendid place like in a movie. His first feeling was not excitement but resistance. The villa was so large, but it was extremely quiet, without the warm laughter of a family, without the bustle of a normal house. Alex noticed that there were only 3 servants in the villa, but they were extremely quiet. They only appeared when there was work to do, finished, and then quietly disappeared. Mrs. Harrison was not any friendlier, even though they were legally married. She always kept a certain distance. They only met at meals, while Mrs. Harrison spent most of her time in her office or somewhere unknown to her husband. One evening, while eating together, Alex decided to speak up. "Mrs. Harrison, why are there so few people in this house? Don't you have any children or grandchildren?" Mrs. Harrison put her chopsticks down on the table and looked at Alex with cold eyes. "I live alone. Everyone in my family is gone. You just need to do your part, don't worry too much." That answer made Alex shiver a little. She said everyone in the family was gone. Was it a coincidence, or was there something she was hiding? 3 days after the wedding, while Alex was fumbling around in the living room, Mrs. Harrison suddenly called him into her office. On the table was a thick stack of documents. "Sign here," she said sternly. Alex picked up the papers and looked at them. It was a document related to property and some debts. Immediately, he felt something was wrong. "Wait, what is this? Why does it have to do with me?" Mrs. Harrison calmly replied, "You don't have to worry. It's just legalizing everything. It's a condition from the beginning. Did you forget?" Alex hesitated. He was not a legal expert, but signing a document without reading it carefully was dangerous. But when he looked up, he saw that her eyes were colder than ever. It was as if she were testing him. It was as if he refused, the consequences would be dire. A feeling of suffocation filled the room. Alex sighed. Finally, he signed it, not knowing that he had just stepped into a giant trap. Alex sat silently in his bedroom, his hand clutching the pen, his heart pounding. He had just signed the papers that Mrs. Harrison had given him, but he felt uneasy. He felt as if he had just sold his soul to the devil. The large villa was still eerily silent. The clock on the wall ticked loudly in the empty space. Alex looked out the window. The sky was pitch black. A cold wind blew into the room, making him shiver. The next morning, when Alex went down to the dining room, Mrs. Harrison was sitting there, slowly enjoying a cup of tea. The atmosphere between them was still as cold as usual, but today Mrs. Harrison took the initiative to speak up. "You've signed the papers. You're officially a part of this life now. Enjoy it." Alex looked at her in surprise. What did she mean by that? Mrs. Harrison smiled faintly, did not answer immediately, but put the teacup down on the table. Her eyes looked straight at him meaningfully. "Have you ever wondered why I chose you out of hundreds, thousands of people out there? Why did I want you to be my husband?" That question suddenly made Alex feel uneasy. "Didn't you just want someone to keep you company?" he asked. "Yes, but not entirely," she spoke calmly but coldly. Alex felt a chill down his spine. Mrs. Harrison continued, "Your father was once a very good man, but also a man who caused a lot of suffering to others. Did you know that?" Hearing about his father, Alex was startled. What was she saying? My father, even though his business failed, never hurt anyone. Mrs. Harrison smiled slightly, but her eyes were as sharp as knives. Then you don't know the whole truth. After that sentence, she stood up and left the table, leaving Alex with a series of questions swirling in his head, unable to bear the feeling of insecurity. That night, Alex decided to talk to the longtime maid in the house. He went to Mrs. Jane, a middle-aged woman who seemed gentle and quiet. "Mrs. Jane, can I ask you something?" Mrs. Jane hesitated for a moment but still nodded. "Go ahead. Why are there so few people in this villa? And do you know anything about Mrs. Harrison's past, Mrs. Jane looked at him strangely, as if considering whether to say it or not. After a moment of silence, she sighed. "You are the lady's husband. I shouldn't have said it, but I advise you to leave this place if you can." "Why?" Mrs. Jane glanced around as if afraid someone would hear, then whispered, "Did you know the lady used to have a happy family? But then it all disappeared. Her husband died mysteriously, her son disappeared for unknown reasons, and all the people who used to work here didn't stay long." Alex felt his heart clench. "What do you mean, they disappeared?" Mrs. Jane nodded, her voice becoming softer. "I don't know either. It's just that everyone who enters her life doesn't have a good ending." Those words kept Alex awake that night. He began to question himself. Who was Mrs. Harrison really, and why did she want to marry him? He couldn't stand it anymore. The next day, Alex decided to find out what Mrs. Harrison had said about his father. He returned to his hometown and met with people who had known his father. After many inquiries, an old friend of his father, Mr. Wilson, finally agreed to tell him everything. "Your father was a very smart man, but he also made many big mistakes." "What mistakes, Mr.?" Wilson sighed. "Many years ago, your father had a business partnership with a rich woman, Mrs. Harrison." Alex was startled. "What?" At that time, Mrs. Harrison still had a husband and son. "They invested together in a big project, but then your father betrayed them." "Impossible." Alex shook his head. "What did he do?" "He cheated Mrs. Harrison, causing her to lose all her assets. Because of that shock, her husband committed suicide, and her son mysteriously disappeared." Alex's heart was pounding. What he had just heard was like a blow to his mind. "So she married me for revenge?" Mr. Wilson looked at him with pity in his eyes. "Maybe so. You should be careful." The atmosphere in Mrs. Harrison's office became stifling and frightening. Alex stood still, his eyes still fixed on the computer screen where the video of Mrs. Harrison exchanging the documents right after he signed was displayed. Mrs. Harrison stood behind him, her eyes cold and calculating. "Do you think you can turn the situation around with just this video?" She spoke calmly. But there was a clear threat. Alex breathed heavily, trying to stay calm. "With such clear evidence, do you think I will let it be?" "Whether you let it be or not is up to you. But remember, you are on my territory." Mrs. Harrison chuckled. Alex nodded. That's right, this was still her home, and he was all alone. He needed to leave immediately. Take this video with him before it's too late. Alex immediately pulled the USB out of the computer. He was about to turn around and run away when bang. A hand squeezed his arm. It was Mrs. Harrison. She held him tight. Her eyes were full of power. "I advise you not to be foolish. If you walk out of here with that video, I guarantee you won't be able to escape again." Alex clenched his fists, trying to force himself out. "You can't stop me." But at that moment, a figure appeared at the door. It was Mrs. Harrison's two bodyguards. Alex was stunned. He didn't expect her to have everything ready like that. "Hold him back," Mrs. Harrison ordered. The two bodyguards rushed towards him. There was no other way. Alex stood up, shook off Mrs. Harrison's hand, and ran straight to the window. Bam! He rushed out of the room, jumped over the second-floor balcony, fell to the grass below. His head was in excruciating pain, but he couldn't stop. Behind him, Mrs. Harrison shouted, "Catch him immediately." Two bodyguards rushed down the stairs, chasing him. Alex ran headlong towards the villa gate. Only a few meters away, powder! A strong force hit him on the shoulder. Alex lost his balance and fell to the ground. One of the two bodyguards caught up, grabbed his collar, and pulled him back. "Do you think you can escape from here?" the guard sneered. Alex struggled, trying to get out, but at that moment, "Stop!" a voice rang out. All of them matched. Alex looked up and saw Mark, his lawyer friend, standing right outside the villa gate, along with the police. Mrs. Harrison appeared on the second-floor balcony, looking down at the police, her face showing confusion. A policeman stepped forward, flashing his badge. "Mrs. Harrison, we have a warrant to search your villa. We have received evidence of your fraud and deceit." Mrs. Harrison turned pale. Mark walked over to Alex and helped him up. I knew she wouldn't leave you alone, so I called the police before you got here. And guess what? The police found fake documents in her financial records. Alex was happy, but still in disbelief. He looked at the police. So will she be arrested? The police officer nodded. The evidence was too clear. Not only was there fraud in the marriage contract, but there were also signs of money laundering. We will investigate further. Mrs. Harrison stood on the balcony, her hands gripping the railing. You can't do this to me. I spent my whole life building this business. No one has the right to take it away from me. A policeman stepped forward and said coldly, You built it by deceiving others. Now it's time for you to pay. Mrs. Harrison paled. Finally, she understood she had lost. Two policemen entered the villa, handcuffed Mrs. Harrison, and took her away. Alex stood still and watched. There was a strange feeling in his heart. He was neither elated nor happy. He found nothing but emptiness. After Mrs. Harrison was arrested, Alex had a difficult time. He had to prove that he had nothing to do with her shady dealings and find a way to clear the debts that had been set up. Thanks to the help of Mark and the police, he was cleared. The illegally signed documents were canceled. But what troubled Alex the most was Mrs. Harrison. He couldn't hate her completely because she had been a pitiful woman, deceived, betrayed, pushed to the limit. Perhaps if her life had not gone through so much suffering, she would not have become such a person. Alex decided not to hold grudges in his heart. He just wanted to live a new life, clean and not controlled by greed. He went back to school and completed his law degree. He no longer wanted to get rich by shortcuts. He wanted to be a useful person, someone who appreciated life. A year later, when things had calmed down, Alex received a letter from prison. It was from Mrs. Harrison. In the letter, she no longer sounded as cold or resentful as before. There was only one sentence: live differently from your father. Alex held the letter, silent for a long time. Finally, he folded it and put it in his pocket. He knew that this was the last time Mrs. Harrison would appear in his life. He stepped out of the house into the morning sunlight, and then he continued walking. The story of Alex and Mrs. Harrison is not only about a calculating marriage, but also a profound lesson about greed, hatred, and the path to forgiveness. The biggest message that this story brings is that money cannot buy happiness, and hatred only makes people suffer more. Even if you have all the assets in your hands, if your heart is filled with hatred, you will still live in darkness forever. Don't let other people's mistakes decide your life. Alex could have chosen to continue living in hatred, but he decided to let go and start over. It was his kindness and strong will that helped him find the true value of life. Forgiveness is not weakness, it is liberation. Mrs. Harrison only found true peace when she understood that revenge did not bring her peace, but only made her lose herself. Each of us has the right to choose our own path. No one can choose where they were born, but everyone has the right to decide how they live. Live honestly, be kind, and keep striving. Because this life is not only about what we receive, but also the values we leave behind.